everybody, it's Josie here. I am doing a classics wrap-up, so my classics wrap-up for the month. One of my goals for this year was to read at least one classic a month. So far, we're in what, February? I've been doing that, that's good. So this month's classic is this one over here. It is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is a book that has constantly been recommended to me. A lot of people I know really love it. It's one that kind of comes up a lot when you're looking at YouTube videos and when people are talking about classics and things they read and classic books that they love. So I knew I had to get to it at some point. Also, I like a good thriller, I like a good mystery. I kind of like sort of gothic mysteries as well, which I think all the signs point towards a good reading experience on Rebecca. And I actually found this lovely copy, and I think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous cover, particularly if you have read the book in terms of this kind of central image of Manderley. And I just really love this, this particular cover, and I actually found this in a charity shop, so I was quite pleased by that. So for those of you that don't know, the basic premise of Rebecca is that you have a woman who meets and marries a wealthy gentleman, and then he takes her back to his estate where he lives, and the estate is called Manderley, or Manderley, but I call it Manderley, and the new wife becomes obsessed with the old wife, Rebecca. So that's kind of the basic premise of the book, and it kind of follows through the new wife, the new Mrs. De Winter. You never actually get to know her first name, which I think is interesting because for me this book has a lot to do with identity and, you know, finding your own identity and finding who you are. The new Mrs. De Winter in this book is very young, very naive. I'll be honest, I found her incredibly annoying. So that, I would say, was one of my down points in this book, is that, and I realize this is from a different era, and again, maybe because I do prefer to read books where you have quite strong female leads. She was very, very shy, very demure. When she first comes into the house, comes into Manderley, and she encounters the housekeeper, who essentially is going to be serving her, so is her staff. She's very subservient to the housekeeper. She doesn't want to change anything. She's very fearful of doing anything that was different to what Rebecca did. And she keeps this image of Rebecca for most of the book in her mind, of this incredible, wonderful woman, and she couldn't possibly live up to her, and her husband that she's now married must still be so in love with Rebecca, and, you know, she can't live up to this. And there's even a lot of scenes where just the interaction between the two of them, so Maxim, her husband, and, you know, they have dinner in sort of that elaborate way you did in the past where, you know, this massive table was set for two people, and then they retire to the library in the evening, and there's sentences where she goes and she sits at his feet and she puts her head on his knee, and it's all very, she's incredibly subservient, she's incredibly, frankly, weak, I find, as a person and as a character through most of this book. So for me, it's about finding your identity. So it's really interesting as well that Daphne du Maurier decided not to ever tell you what the new Mrs. De Winter's first name is, yet you're constantly hearing about Rebecca. So Rebecca, I guess, is heralded as a woman in her own right. You know, she's this strong presence, where the new Mrs. De Winter is just really struggling to be herself. And I found that interesting about this book, is it frustrated me. Like I said, I find the character incredibly frustrating. I find her very meek, but it also made for an interesting novel, and it made for an interesting perspective. And I do like the kind of I won't give it away, obviously, if you haven't read it, but the kind of the twist and what happens towards the last third of the book. And for me, I enjoyed the last third of the book more. The whole, also how the two of them get together, Maxim and the new Mrs. De Winter, so they're, this sounds around the beginning, so they're in this hotel on holiday, and she is actually like a lady's maid. She's a companion to a rich elder lady, and she meets him in the hotel, and I don't know if I'm missing something, but I sort of read it, and then all of a sudden she was not going to, I think it was Paris with the lady, she was now going to marry him, and it was all very sudden. I mean, talk about insta-love. I sort of turned around and they were getting married. And there's no real sense of, at least for me, love or romance. She keeps telling him she loves him and she loves him so much, and he doesn't really say it back a lot. But I really struggled with that sort of extreme insta-love, in my opinion, and maybe it was because the character was so naive and so non-worldly, and again, a different era that this is set in. It could have been that, but I found the fact that they got married within seconds of meeting each other a bit weird. So that bit I didn't like. The beginning of the book, like I said, that insta-love bit annoyed me, and also Mrs. De Winter's real lack of backbone annoyed me, probably all of the way through, actually. But, you know, when the sort of spectre of Rebecca kicks in and that whole story, that I found really interesting. So I loved the kind of gothic noir mystery sort of element to this book, and I realised why so many people love it, and I cannot say I was disappointed with that. It was just the central character really annoyed me. Really found her spineless. I can't say that again. Anyway, so she annoyed me. But, like I said, the mystery, the kind of the spectre of Rebecca, this whole fact that, what I love about the book as well, I think the first line of the book is, last night I went back to Mandalay, and the house itself is a character, and I think that's really cool. I love the way du Maurier wrote that, in that the house itself becomes almost a character in this book, with personality and with opinion, and yeah, there's this whole kind of spectre of this house and this deceased woman. So I really love that. So actually, on final kind of rating, 3.75, I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. It was just that I didn't like Mrs. De Winter's character, and I found her annoying. There is a book, another book written by, I can't forget the author's surname, but I think her first name is Sally Bowman. It's on the back. She's written a book that's called Rebecca's Tale, and I'm really quite, yeah, I think I'm in two minds, but I think I might want to read that, because I think that'll be interesting to give a different perspective on Rebecca, because obviously Rebecca is dead in this book, and you see her through everybody else's eyes, and it would be interesting, it's obviously a shame that Daphne du Maurier didn't write it, but it would be interesting to see what somebody else makes of the story and actually makes of Rebecca, because she's definitely the most fascinating character in this book, Rebecca and the house, in my opinion. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Rebecca. I would definitely still recommend it. I think it's a great classic. I think it's very accessible to read as well. So yeah, I would give this one a go. So yeah, that's Rebecca. I will speak to you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye bye.